Welcome everyone to this PD for Year 1 Mathematics, and welcome to our special higher needs educators for the hearing impaired equality group. Tonight's topic, patterns. Tonight's agenda will consist of what are patterns and why they're so important. We'll briefly touch on ACARA, differentiated instruction for teaching skip counting patterns particularly, and how to scaffold your classes effectively to teach patterns, and different types of testing, diagnostic, formative and summative. We know that patterns are everywhere, from the very simple patterns that repeat with 2 or 3 elements to repeating patterns with multiple elements and attributes. We know that patterns are any mathematical form or structure that show order or regularity, as well as predictable arrangements of colour, objects and shapes. It's important when teaching patterns to our young ones that we use the correct formal language, so the attributes, variation of the attributes, the elements and of course the repeat. Patterns will set up our students fundamentally for algebra in later schooling. Algebraic thinking involves finding and describing patterns. It also involves making generalizations about numbers, using symbols and models to represent patterns, qualitative relationships and changes over time. Setting our students up correctly will help with the teaching of algebra. By teaching patterns in a way to keep our young ones engaged, will help keep their minds open for this new concept that's taught later in their schooling. The prior knowledge needed for pattern teaching that our students need to carry forward from prep is to be able to sort and classify familiar objects and explain the basis for their classification. Copy, continue and create patterns with objects and drawings. For our Year 1, our focus for tonight and in our classrooms is to investigate and describe number patterns formed by skip counting and patterns with objects. Teaching this concept of patterns well and effectively will again set up our students ready for Year 2. You may ask, how do we teach this effectively? Well, stay tuned. Research suggests that deaf and hard of hearing students can sometimes prefer visual learning strategies. Students with hearing loss may need to use assistive technology to participate effectively in class. For others, it will be a combination of technology that includes both listening devices and computer-based software. There are a range of inclusive teaching strategies that can assist all students to learn, but there are some specific strategies that are useful in teaching a group that includes students with hearing impairments. So a warm-up introductory activity for skip counting is to get some blocks and get the students to count. So I've put 2 blocks together, get the students to count 1, 2, excellent, we put that down. So to help with the fluency of skip counting, once you've put your 2 blocks down, you can get a pen and a paper and write the number 2 on the piece of paper and put that by that. And then 2 more is 4, so put it on number 4 on a piece of paper and put it down next to 4, and this will help the students' fluency. This activity can also be executed with 5s and 10s skip counting as well. Hundreds boards are incredibly useful in a classroom, not only for patterns and skip counting, but visually and physically seeing and moving the numbers will help our students learn and recognise the patterns that they are making. As you can see, I'm wearing a lanyard here which projects my voice around the room, and we've got a 100 board on our interactive whiteboard, and we're going to count in 2s. So we've got here 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Another way you can introduce skip counting is by a step ladder on the floor. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Assessment strategies always consider alternative forms of assessment when necessary. Standards are not expected to be lowered to accommodate students with a disability, but rather required to give them a reasonable opportunity to demonstrate what they have learned. Assessing can be done throughout your teachings by a number of different ways. Worksheets for predicting the next number or objects, using ICTs, using a diagnostic test to grasp your students' understanding before you actually start the teaching. As you can see, I've used a number of different resources to be inclusive of all learners. I've also used a number of teaching strategies to assist with the learning, but only you know your students and how they learn, so only you can figure out what of tonight's discussion will be useful in your classroom. Thank you and good night.